So the first match for the All Blacks of the Rugby Championship 2024 competition is just around the corner. They will be taking on Los Pumas in what is going to be an electric start to a brand new competition. And myself and Tim, we are going to be trying our best to predict what Razor is going to be going with in his starting lineup and reserves. Now, he has fortunately made it extremely easy for us. There are only 24 players to select from for our 23-man side. So worst comes to worst, we should at least get, I'd like to think, 90% of these players correct. But looking through at this side, Tim, 12 players being released back into the Bunnings NBC to get some minutes. Likes of Sam Cane, Will Jordan, the new inclusions in the side. How do you think the All Blacks will go here up against Argentina after 3 wins in a row, 2 against the English in tight contests and 1 up against the Flying Fijians?
I think they should do well. I mean, like you said, they have a 100% record so far under Scott Robertson, and I think this is not going to change. I think like going into this game, I'm also thinking about what I've seen from Argentina as well within those games against the French, and yes, they did win their last one against the French, but they weren't they didn't do it in fashion. That's the problem. And you want to see them kind of do a bit better in those occasions because, again, the French didn't put their strongest side out. So it's a kind of a worrying indication that this may be one of those games where New Zealand could just, put the damage on them, really, and kind of get at least a bonus point out of this game. That's kind of what I'm expecting. But at the same time, there's a lot of changes that, they'll have to make here. And again, yes, they do have, a small amount of players they can choose from, but still, they'll have to make some changes falling from this game to the next. So we'll see what happens.
This game taking place in New Zealand, although Argentina, a little while ago, they pulled off a bit of a miracle win here in New Zealand as well. But looking through at your starting lineup, we will start with your front row. Who do you believe that Scott Robertson will be putting in his All Blacks front row?
Yeah, so for this front row, I've gone with the likes of Ethan de Groot at number 1. For the number 2, this is actually where I've gone with Safa Moore to start at the number 2 spot. And then for number 3, I've gone with Tyrell Lomax. I think that's the combination I think most people would select in this case because I think Ethan de Groot is kind of the sure thing in terms of number 1. Again, if you wanted to, you can go with Tamati Williams there because he can play both loose head and tight head. But I think for now, Ethan de Groot is probably the player I'd go in that position. And then, Safa Moore, I think it's probably the perfect opportunity for him to kind of get a start. And against Argentina, he's had good games actually in the past as well. So I kind of want to see him get a bit more minutes, and I think it's just the perfect occasion for him. And then, Tyrell Lomax, just again, another great player in terms of scrimmaging, and we kind of seen the combination a lot within the Rugby World Cup. And so, I just think it just works out overall.
Right, so for myself, I've gone with Ethan de Groot as my number 1, like you said. Very solid player. Tamati Williams, Fletcher Null, a couple other props that are available for the ABs. They have only got the 4, so no matter what, all of these men will be getting some form of game time throughout this match. Number 2, this is actually where I've gone Cody Taylor. Okay. Now, I, for my selection, would have a Safa Moore, but I just have a feeling that for Scott Robertson's selection, maybe he does once again back the Crusaders boy Cody Taylor, who at times didn't have the strongest line out up against the English, and that is something for the All Blacks that they will want to have well and truly mastered by the time they get to South Africa. So maybe that is where we see the consistency of the same player over and over again to try and build his confidence. But Asafo Moore is just an absolute bulldozer when he gets the ball in hand.
He's awesome.
Cody Taylor, you'd say that he's got some pretty solid breakdown work in terms of outside of the lineouts, what he offers to the ABs, and also just that support run down the wing. But I think that they might go Taylor, but I would not be surprised whatsoever if they do go with Asafo Moore in this match. And then Tyrell Lomax is going to be my number 3. I feel like you can't really break up that Ethan de Groot and Tyrell Lomax combination now after they've been together for so long, and it does make sense to have Tamati Williams and Fletcher Null partner up like they do for the Crusaders. But now we move on to the locks. Now, there are a few exclusions from this AB side in terms of those locking jerseys. No Scott Barrett due to his finger injury. Not too sure on a time frame of when he will be returning for the All Blacks. No Josh Lord, who was actually injury cover for the ABs. He is going to be playing for his provincial side. So that only leaves us with 3 options. Number 4, I've gone Patrick Tuipulotu, who some would even debate should have been the starting 4 for the All Blacks from the start of the Razor era. I think Scott Barrett being the captain, though, kind of maybe dwindled that plan a little bit, but now that he is injured, I think Patrick Tuipulotu definitely going to be a great option at 4. And then number 5, this is where I've gone with Tupavai. Now, I would like to see the combination of Sam Derry and Tuipulotu, the Blues combo, at locking time. I feel like that would certainly add that stability for the lineouts. But Tupavai, I feel like he's earned some starting minutes. He's been solid off the bench up against the English. So here's who I've got as my number 5.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. No, I've also gone with Patrick Tuipulotu there, the number 4 position. I think, like you said, I think he is now the guaranteed 4 with Scott Barrett out for a while. Again, we don't know officially like how long he's out for, but it seems that he'll be out at least up until, let's just say, we can't really consider him for these Argentina games. That's kind of like the way we're thinking about this. It's really, we'll find out a bit more information following this. But yeah, I have gone with Patrick Tuipulotu. Like you said, he's just an awesome player to watch, and he just brings the experience within those locking positions. And then this is where I've actually gone with Sam Derry. I've actually given him the start. I think it's one of those where there's not really other games I would do this in. I think for this Rugby Championship, again, you could consider him maybe for the Wallabies games if you want to. I think Safka is a stretch at the moment because I think he's not at that stage of his career where he would just start automatically. But again, you never know. Maybe if he does well in these type of games against Argentina, then he could propel himself in that position. So for that reason alone, I have gone with Patrick Tuipulotu at the number 4, and then Sam Derry at the number 5.
The Blues combination for you in the locking duo. Quite a few Blues players finding themselves in the 24-man squad, I guess you could call it, for this matchup. But now the loose forward trio. Number 6, 7, and 8. They've only got 4 options. The question is, who have you gone with?
Well, I think this is the easiest selection I think we've ever had because like you just go with the standard 6, 7, 8. You just go with Samipini Finau, number 6, go Papali'i, and then number 7, then Arnaud Sevilla, then number 8. Just that's simple. Like just don't change it. And you probably have the best player off the bench as well because he covers all 3. So like I think it's just the set in standard. So that's the easiest I think I've ever had in terms of selecting loose forwards in my lifetime for the All Blacks because again those can change a lot of the time. So yeah. I think for now you just got to go with him because he's just an awesome player. The number 6 jersey, and again, was pretty good, I'd say, for the All Blacks throughout the games he played previously. I would say he had like one game where he was a bit off, but then one game he was pretty good to watch. Papali'i, again, I wouldn't say he had a lot of running meters. I like from the games I can recall, but from a defensive point of view, he was very good. And then Arnaud Sevilla just did what he did, winning countless balls from the breakdowns. Yeah, he was pretty good for the All Blacks, and yeah, will continue to be in that 8 jersey.
So I've gone with the exact same 3. No surprises there. Number 6, Samipini Finau. Number 7, Dalton Papali'i. And number 8, Ardie Savea. Now, I would say, with the exception maybe of Savea, these other 2 players are under quite a bit of pressure at the moment to be able to perform because we've seen Sam Cane come back into the fray. We've seen Ethan Blackadder have a couple solid games. We saw Jacobson up against Fiji look extremely strong. So if Papali'i as well as Samipini Finau don't have standout performances up against Argentina, a part of me wouldn't be surprised if they lose their starting spots or at least get possibly put onto the bench for a little bit because we also know that this All Black squad, they're going to be trying to play everyone as much as possible throughout this Rugby Championship. And, if your opportunities are slim, you want to make sure that when you are getting those opportunities, you are making the absolute most of them. But now we move on to the 9-10 combination. Now, someone who I feel made the most of their opportunity was this man at 9, and that is Cortez Ratama. They've had a fair share of injuries in that number 9 jersey, the ABs, losing Cam Roigard throughout Super Rugby Pacific, losing TJ Perenara in that first game up against the English, losing Cortez Ratama with an injury of his own in the game up against Fiji. Luckily, he is all right, though, and he will be back, and he is in my starting lineup. Number 10, this is where I've gone with Damian McKenzie. Of course, the combination with Cortez Ratama works pretty nicely for the Chiefs, so I expect the same at international level, and it just seems to give McKenzie a little bit more freedom when that ball's getting to him quickly, when he's linking up well with his 9, and it could be a very dangerous and a very longevity kind of combination for the All Blacks if everything does go to plan and both can remain injury-free.
Exactly, yeah. No, in this case, I've gone with the exact same 2 as you. I've gone with Cortez Ratama number 9, and then Damian McKenzie number 10. I think I was considering TJ Perenara. It was really like split for me here because it comes down to who do I believe is going to start for the Springbok games, and I think it's more likely that it's Perenara than Cortis Latiman just because of the experience. And I would like my scrum half to play the game before. So in that case, I'm kind of thinking more Perenara to start in the second game rather than the first. So it kind of gives the opening here for Cortis Latimer and gives him the opportunity to get some more minutes under his belt, which is just good for him, really. I mean, I would have liked to see no Hopeman available for this game, but I understand obviously a lot of players are kind of playing within the NPC, so a lot of them will be back for that second game against Argentina. So that's maybe where we think of him there. But for now, yeah, like you said, we're going with Cortis Latimer and Damien McKenzie.
And Noah Hotham, one of the 4 Tasman Marcos who do get released into their side. It's going to be interesting, though, because, of course, another player who plays for Tasman is Finlay Christie. So I think he's still got a little bit of an injury, but at the same time, we could see Noah Hotham and Finlay Christie both lining up for Tasman in that upcoming game, which, I mean, that's some pretty decent talent in terms of the upcoming options for the ABs, as well as someone who's had a bit of experience under their belt and now looking to get that jersey back. But now moving on to the centres for this contest. For yourself, this is a curious combo, I would say, in terms of who you can go with, because you've got Jordie Barrett, who came off the bench up against Fiji. You've got Anton Lienert-Brown, who came off the bench in both games up against the English. One of them's been in a little bit better form than the other, but where do they stack up in terms of your number 12 jersey?
Yeah, so for this game, it's tough because the standard one is just go Jordie Barrett here, but I do think Anton Lienert-Brown has played very well for the All Blacks recently, so it's a hard choice. But I think you just got to go the standard here, and that's kind of why I've gone with Jordie Barrett. I just think he just gives you that kicking ability, which Anton Lienert-Brown doesn't. And in this case, when you're going against Argentina, like what the All Blacks have always done actually is kind of pressure them, like make them make their own mistakes. And I think having a player like Jordie Barrett will be better kind of to make that happen. So that's the reason why I've gone with him and Jordie in the number 12 spots. And then number 13, I've gone with Rieko Ioane. Just keep it simple. Go the standard combination, and just see if the job gets done.
So for me, I've got the exact same combination. Number 12, Jordie Barrett. Number 13, Rieko Ioane. Anton Lienert-Brown, I think his time will be here very soon in terms of that starting spot. Definitely if we don't see Jordie Barrett and Rieko Ioane start to perform at that next level, it's a little bit similar to that loose forward trio. If you're not having your best games, you're going to slowly get pushed to the side, and then eventually someone who is playing well will make their way in. I have a question for you, Tim, and I feel like this is going to be an extremely hard one. I think it is public knowledge that you are a massive fan of Rieko Ioane.
He's my
but
favorite player.
I have a question. Favorite player, of course. Yep. Billy Proctor, Rieko Ioane, both fighting for that number 13 jersey. If Proctor was available for selection here, would you have given him a shot at 13?
Yes, I would. But it's one of those where I think for this type of game, I was honestly thinking Anton Lienert-Brown to go. I think I was thinking more for him in that 13 jersey than the 12. To be frank, because I think it's one of those where Rieko is the sure thing in terms of he's like the guaranteed guy you're going to select at 13. But for this particular game against Argentina, you want to kind of give people an opportunity. So for that reason, I would kind of give it to Billy Proctor if he was available for selection. And with Anton Lienert-Brown, he's someone which I was split on this. I wouldn't be surprised if the All Blacks go with Anton Lienert-Brown there. I would not be disappointed at all, because I think it's just one of those games where it gives players a chance here. I think Reiko's going to have, he's going to start both games, I believe, against the Springboks. So I think just if you want to give other people minutes here, then why not give it to Anton Lienert-Brown? He's had a great season. So, either way, I'll be happy. But to answer your question, I would go Billy Proctor.
Just to give you a little follow-up question.
Now
that I've heard the answer, what makes Rieko the surefire 13 for the ABs at the moment? Because it's not form, is it?
No, it's just it comes. I mean, I've said this countless times. It's experience. He has more experience, honestly, he's played. I'm trying to think if there's another player in this All Blacks squad that's played more. I think it's only Jordie. I think they're very close in terms of minutes in terms of that front. I mean, I'm more considering Beauden Barrett, by the way, in this scenario, because he's just he's kind of he's had too much in that case. But I think in terms of the other players, I think it is kind of Rieko in that case, for experience wise, and he's been in the big occasions, with Jordie Barrett as well. That combination, it's just so good that it's just hard to kind of break it up really. And there's cases where like Jordy, for example, like we've discussed already, like he's been a bit off form recently. And then whereas Reiko, like he hasn't had the opportunity to kind of showcase it as many times as Jordy Barrett. Because again, if you're just being frank here, if you're choosing between the two, who's like an automatic starter, it's Jordy Barrett because he's a very unique player in how the All Blacks have kind of utilized him. Whereas with Reiko, you can make some switches there if you need to. But again, you keep selecting him because he has that experience, which is unfortunately what Billy Proctor and Antonio Brown is another. I'm trying to think, actually, Antonio Brown could be close to Reiko.
I just remembered I have how many caps they have right here in front of me. Reiko has 71.
There you go.
Jordy Barrett has 60. Leonard Brown actually has 73.
So, really? Is that 73 for him?
Yeah. Where'd they all come? I swear he only just got his 50th not too long ago. Maybe it was like his 50th start no. Oh, no, Mackenzie's got 50, but I don't know where all those caps have come from.
By the way, I'm not surprised by that at all, by the way. I'm trying to think who's the other one then? I'm trying to think of a center-wise. There's always another player that used to pick. Oh, Goodhue. That's the one. Goodhue. What is Goodhue? I'm not sure if you could quickly search that, but I guarantee you Goodhue is a player that, I'm actually, that's the player I was thinking of, by the way, in terms of caps.
He's 100 kgs. That's some nice information. But how many caps
that's the stat we needed to know. Yeah, that's the one.
He has got for the All Blacks 19.
Yeah. That's like, but you'd assume he has more, right? You think like Goodhue because it's a crusader. Like you'd assume he has a lot more, but yeah.
Well, it's a bit of fun information on it.
But yeah, no, Reiko is just it just comes down to one's experience. As simple as that.
Alrighty, so now we move on to the back three, somewhere that we could have a lot of experience or not so much, depending on who we do end up selecting. For myself, number 11, I've gone with Mark Dallaire. This is pretty much the only option that they have got out on that left wing.
You could switch it around if you wanted to. You could just do a switch.
I could. Mate, tell you what. Maybe that would help Mark Dallaire's defense, wouldn't it?
Exactly.
Because at the moment on the left wing, it doesn't exist,
But if you look at the stats, he scored more tries on the left than the right. So maybe that's
how many has he conceded from the left?
It's all about winning, though. That's the problem. It's
so yeah, 11 I've given to Mark Dallaire for this one. Number 14, Sevu Reece. He's got 26 caps. You'd think that he had more as well, to be honest, with how many he's been able to score.
Actually, I'm not surprised. But by the way, when I'm saying that, it's because wingers for the All Blacks, like if there's a winger for the All Blacks that is over like 50, that player's done very well for himself.
Yeah,
very well. But like I think like Julian Sevilla is like probably the only one that like I can think of right off the back who had like at least I think he had somewhere.
Well, we're getting back on Google, Tim.
Yeah, look, we're doing a whole we're doing more trivia questions here.
Caps. Here we go.
I think he had around I want to say like 50 to 60, kind of that range. Maybe it could even be less, but
most tries still goes to Dougie Howlett. Got 49. Julian Savia with 46. Christian Cullum, 46. Joe Rokafoko, he had 68 matches.
54. So he had 54 caps.
Okay, so most capped at the moment does seem like Joe Rokafoko.
Yeah, I'm not surprised with that.
I would say.
Makes sense.
Unless Rico goes back to wing.
If you consider, but I don't consider Rico as in that case now. But yeah, no, 54. So see, that's like he just got over it. So that's like it just shows you that's the quality of him. Like so for Sevu Reece to have what we said 23, I believe you said
26 at the moment he's on.
Yeah, like he'll get to at least like I think 40, somewhere in the 40s. He'll get to I think by the end of his career I think. But I mean I've gone with the exact same two as you there. But here's your last one.
Well, number 15. This is where we get a little bit more interesting because we've got three options. We've got Beauden Barrett, we've got Stephen Perofeta, or we've got Ruben Love, who has been left in that 24-man selection opportunity side. So for me, I've gone with Stephen Perofeta. Might be a bit of a surprise. Beauden Barrett could easily start this game, but I feel like the impact that he brings off the bench is what I'm really looking at. If the All Blacks are struggling up against Argentina later on in a game, we saw it up against the English in that second test. Beauden Barrett can turn a game around and change the momentum extremely drastically. But at the same time, of course, I would love to see Ruben Love somewhere in this All Black side,
Yeah,
so that makes it difficult. But I've gone with Stephen Petafeta, even though there is also a chance that he could be the guy that misses out.
yeah. It's a hard selection here because, like you said, like for what I think the standard pick is to probably go with Perifetta and then Bowden Barrett off the bench because we've seen it before and it's worked out well in that case. But I think just because there's Ruben Love there, I want to give him a shot. So for that alone, I've gone with I'm kind of like now I'm not like second guessing myself here. Do I do it? Do I start him? No, I can't. I'm gonna go with I'm going with Bowden Barrett to start this game. But yeah, no. But of course, I will have then him later off the bench. But yeah, look, I think that's just the standard for you have to go with. I think in terms of like that again, like Bowden Barrett. Well, yes, but like I'm saying, like for your case, like it's probably the standard what I would have gone with as well. But like it's just more like if you want to include Ruben Love in this scenario, I think it's better having Bowden Barrett to start than bringing Ruben Love off the bench. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Righty, so now we move on to our benches, 16, 17, 18. Mm-hmm. I believe we'll have two similarities here, the only difference being in the hooker jersey.
Indeed, yeah. So in that case, I have gone with Cody Taylor as the number 16 there. Number 17, we've gone with Matty Williams, and then number 18, Fletcher Newell. So I'm going with all Crusaders kind of bench replacement right there.
A lot of chemistry amongst those three players.
Yeah, those green links.
Is that a FIFA reference?
Indeed.
Okay. But nonetheless, for me, I've gone with Asafa Moore as my number 16. No surprises there. Number 17, Tamaiti Williams. Number 18, also Fletcher Newell. Number 19, I have got Sam Derry. And number 20, I have got Luke Jacobson. Like you mentioned earlier on, Jacobson offering all the positions in that loose forward trio, which is exactly what you want to have off the bench. It's a little bit similar to South Africa, except the opposite, how the South African backs cover all the positions.
Exactly, but for New Zealand, it's all
New Zealand, the loose forward trio can play everywhere. Now, of course, South Africa's loose forwards normally can play in at least a couple, if not all three as well, but normally having that extra forward replacement to be able to also cover another jersey.
Just on that point, do you actually think that's what's allowed South Africa to be better in that sense? Like, where is it better to have more versatility in the backs in terms of players like that, or more versatility in the forwards? Because at the end of the day, forwards kind of there's always that saying like forwards are the ones that win you the games, kind of in kind of those scenarios. So like, is it better to have specialists in kind of those positions rather than what? Because that's what South Africa have really when you're kind of comparing the two against New Zealand. So I'm not saying, by the way, it's a minor detail, but like it's just something which like now you kind of brought it to mind, I kind of like thought about that. But do you think that's the case or no?
Well, I think for the All Blacks, normally when they've got someone coming off the bench, like we don't often see it be a specialist 6, do we? Normally we see the locks can also kind of transfer to that 6, but a specialist 7 sometimes can help you out. But I think because the All Blacks have always got Ardie Savia now at number 8, like that pretty much takes away any specialist option for Wallace Satiti off the bench, unfortunately, because Savia more times than not will play the 80 minutes. So having guys that can play 80 as well can be hugely beneficial, not just in terms of the one who comes off the bench, but also if the guys who are alongside the man who is the replacement are still going at that same pace, then that can be massively beneficial. So I would say, honestly, I don't know, is the best way of answering it. Some teams, it works better to have that forward in terms of a specialist. Other teams, having someone off the bench like a Bowden Barrett to be able to come in at 15 and win your game up against the English can be exactly what the doctor ordered.
For all of you guys just in the comments, let us know, like, do you think it's better to have a specialist or to have someone who's more versatile? Because that's probably the biggest question actually in terms of rugby. Like what is needed more, or what can win you a game more often? Is it a specialist or is it more versatility?
Do you think it's situational, like kind of it changes in different situations though?
Yeah, it depends what team you're playing, like if you're home or away, if it's what competition you're in. So yeah, like I do agree it can change, but I think generally, people would be able to give an answer. I think what it just comes down towards the preference. Do you prefer someone who's versatile or someone who's more of a specialist? It's a good question.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments. Let us know in the comments, guys.
Exactly right. So for you, you have got your versatile number 20 in Luke Jacobson, but number 19, I believe you only have one other option that you can go with. So
Indeed,
who
I've
have
gone
you
with
got? There you
Tupobai.
go.
Yeah,
Both Chiefs boys. Oh, you've got a lot of chemistry in terms of
exactly.
your
More
green
green
lines,
links.
as you said. Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. You've got 3 Crusaders in terms of your front row. You've got 2 other Chiefs replacements in terms of your forwards. I don't think it's possible unless
We have 2 Hurricanes.
you got 2
Ooh.
Hurricanes. I was just trying to work out whether you could squeeze in a third, but you cannot. So number 21, we have both got TJ Perenara. Number
Yeah.
22, we have both got Anton Leonard-Brown.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And then number 23, I have got Bowden Barrett.
And I
as
have
my
Ruben
man.
Love. So, yeah.
There we go. So your player who misses out is Stephen Perafeta.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking for me because I mean, if I were selecting the team, I would definitely pick Stephen Fetz at the start. And then I'd probably actually go with Ruben Love off the bench. I would actually just not let Bowden play this one game. But no, that's not how Robinson's going to select it. I think you just got to have Bowden Barrett because he's been very good up until now. So yeah, it'll be a tough choice if he was to do that.
And then for me, Bowden Barrett, number 23, like I mentioned, that late impact, which means that I do not have Ruben Love in my side, which is absolutely brutal when I think about it, because I just looked up and I have got Sky Stadium behind me, which is Ruben Love's home stadium. Is it ever going to be a better opportunity to give that young man a chance than on his home ground?
He's going to play. I don't know why you haven't gone with him.
You know what I think they should do? They should just get rid of Rico, put Anton Leonard-Brown 13, Bowden Barrett as the replacement fly half, and stick Ruben Love in.
Just bring him in.
Yeah, he as well, get him in the Hurricanes.
Exactly.
Give him a crack. But nonetheless, we do thank you all very much for tuning in. Of course, do let us know who you think Razor will be going with in his starting lineup and reserves for this game. Once again, not going to be that different because we've only got 24 players to be able to select from. So I think a better question as well would be, of the 12 players who have been excluded from this team, who are you looking forward to seeing the most throughout this Rugby Championship? Is it the return of Sam Cane? Is it a return of Will Jordan, Caleb Clark, Ethan Blackadder? There are plenty of options in there. Who would you say for yourself, Tim, just quickly?
I mean, I think it has to be Will Jordan because we haven't seen him in such a long time, and he is the X factor player, I think, for the All Blacks. I mean, you can make a close case when Cam Wargo comes back in because he is also an X factor player, but Will Jordan is just he's just world class. He's world class. So yeah, I want to see him back in the All Blacks side.
I think the biggest question for him is going to be, you know how sometimes you see a player come back from an injury and they just don't quite look the same?
No, that's not going to happen with Will
Jordan. I hope it's not the case with Will
If that
Jordan.
happens with Will Jordan, oh my gosh, it's going to be the worst thing ever in the world because one, like he's arguably the best player I've seen in that 15. Like it's like I'd always make the argument that Ben Smith is like the best 15 I've ever seen. Like I know that there's a lot of people that will come at me for that one because but I'm just thinking in terms of the greatest player I've ever seen in terms of that 15 jersey, I think it is Ben Smith. And by the way, I'm saying this as a Bok fan, so like I'm just being completely honest here. Like he is the best player I've seen in that jersey. But Will Jordan, I've always said this from the very start. From when I saw him in that first season for the Crusaders, I always said he has the trajectory to be better than Ben Smith. And if he can just win a World Cup, like I kind of wish he won that World Cup back in. I mean, to make the argument stronger, because he then would be equal in the case if he weren't to win the next one. Because Ben Smith, of course, did win 2, but it'll be a tough argument. It'll be a tough argument. But I'm actually fascinated to see if people agree with me or just heavily disagree with me on that front. Like, do you think Will Jordan has the ability to be better, I guess, overall when he retires than Ben Smith? If, let's just say hypothetically, if he won a World Cup, like the next one, does that put him like, does he have to win another one, or does he have to like do more? Like, let me know in the comments below.
Of course, when we're talking about great fullbacks with a stadium like this behind us, we've got to give a quick shout out to Christian Cullen as well.
Christian Cullen, that's my dad's favorite.
Hurricanes
that's my dad's favorite is Christian Cullen. Yeah.
I feel like old school like Christian Cullen.
Yeah,
that little bit more.
He's just a flashy player. He's a flashy player, and he just did everything really. It's awesome.
58 matches, 46 tries. with a tries per match conversion rate of 0.79. The
Will
same as
Jordan will
Doug
beat
Howlett.
that. That's the crazy thing. Will Jordan's going to beat that. He'll have a better. Like he could arguably have more. He'll have like a. I mean, I'm not sure. Did Julian do that? I was about to say the whole statistic where like you have more tries than you've played games. I don't think Julian Savia did that though. I think
Julian Savia, he's the most out of the top 10 in terms of tries with 0.85 tries per match.
Exactly.
So
that's what I think. Will Jordan will
closest.
be. Yeah. He'll get more than that. It's just crazy. It's crazy saying that.
Yeah,
but
that's a bold prediction, isn't it? In the video.
Will Jordan. It's Will Jordan.
But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, if you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Like we said, be sure to let us know who you think they will be going with. When the lineup is announced, I will be doing the video on the channel as well. But a big thank you to Rugbyitch once again for coming on the channel. Be sure to check out his link in the comments as well as the description. Thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and we will see you all for the next one.